Okay, so this is a quick tutorial on how we're going to create our designs on Techsoft for our point of sale displays. So a couple of points here. This tab at the top and this tab at the bottom. I'm going to do nothing with these two. I don't need to put a design on them. They're going to be folded underneath and sit on the table. So there's no need for me to put anything on them. This part here, however, is going to be our main feature on the front. This is going to be the little seating area for where our phone is going to sit. And this is going to be a back area for any additional display pieces that we want to put on there. So I'm going to start out with my theme. So you would have been able to pick from either Banksy, Kathy Kidston, Disney Pixar, or Alessi. For this example, I'm going to use the Disney Pixar one. So I'm going to start off with creating my design on the front here. Now I can use a boundary fill here. And under this option, I can do a number of things. I can go into my fill option here and I could have a solid color if I wanted to. I could have a gradient of colors and I could change these colors and the angle that they're going to be in. For my example, I'm going to use a texture. Now, I've already actually saved this image here. So what I did there is I went onto Google and I found an image I wanted. I'm doing a Finding Nemo one, so I found an underwater picture that I want to use for my background, and I've saved it to my computer, and it's saved to my desktop, and there it is. So I've got this image selected, and I want to load this as a texture, okay? And then that will come up as my texture there. So I've loaded that texture. I think standardly it comes up with some um, kind of velvety texture, or when you come in for it standard or something like that. I've done this one. So I've loaded myself a new picture on there. I'm happy with that. I saved it from the computer and I'm going to press OK. So that there is what I've got. So I'm going to press OK again. And now it's asking me to locate. So I'm going to click here. It's going to ask me if there's any islands. I actually want to fill these two parts as well. So I'm going to say yes and go there and say yes again. And then I'm going to go here. No, there's no more islands. I've got the three areas I want to do, so I'm going to say no. And it's filled them all in with my texture. Now, I want to do the back here. There's only one area, so I'm going to say no. You'll notice, though, it's this way around. Now, remember, on the back, as we fold it in, that's actually going to be upside down. So I'm going to go back onto my image here and go back into properties. Now, when I go back into my fill properties, you'll notice here that I'm at 0 degrees. If I rotate that 180, you'll notice that that starts to rotate around. So I can put in 180 there, and that's now fully upside down. And that's how I wanted it. So now I've got my background at the back, which is upside down, which will be the right way up when it's folded. And at the front, oh, this is good. So I've got my underwater scene. That's perfectly fine. The next thing I want to do is, as I mentioned before, I want to do a Finding Nemo design. So I'm going to go back onto here and I'm going to get my picture of Nemo. This is what I want. So I'm going to copy that image. I'm going to go back into here and I'm going to press paste. Now, at this point in time, I don't want this white on the background. This looks very kind of amateurish. So I'm going to click this image and you'll notice when your images aren't selected, there's no box down here. When I've got the image selected by using my select tool, this little property icon appears. Now there's loads of things I can do here, but I'm just going to really simply click transparency enabled. And here's the default color, which is a white. I'll come back to this later on. So it's taken everything that was white. You see, if I turn that off, all the white there is taking away all the white on the background. Unfortunately, there's a bit of white in here as well, so I'm going to lose a little bit in the eyes, but I'll show you what I'm going to do with that in a moment. So he's a bit big there. I'm going to make him a little bit, you know what, I'll keep him as that for now. So as I zoom into him, I've got this going on in his eyes. I don't want that. So I'm going to get my circle tool and I'm going to go up to my circle color. So this is my line color. I want it to be white. And then I want to make sure my fill is a solid. Sometimes it will be no fill. I want to make sure it's a solid. And I want to select the color and make sure it's white. So that's all in play. Now I've done that, I'm going to have the opportunity to draw some circles. Now, don't worry, it's going to look a little bit odd at first. I'm just going to draw them in place and then move that down a bit so I'm covering all of the blue there. That's good. Now, At this point in time, that looks a bit freaky, and I understand that. I'm going to currently select him though, and up here, I've got different options. One of them says to bring it to the front. So I'm going to bring just Nemo in front of those two circles. I'm changing the order of the layers. So now you can see if I zoom in on his eyes there, that his eyes now are in front of where those white circles are. So I can still select them. They're behind him. He's now on top. While I've got all three of them selected, so I hold down Shift to make sure they're all selected. I'm going to group them. If I don't group them, look what happens. So let's say I said before he's a bit too big. I want to make him a bit smaller. If I make him smaller, they don't move. They stay there. So I want to go to undo there. I'm going to select those circles and him. Hold down Shift together, and now I'm going to group them. Now it says grouping is completed. What it's done is now as I move them around, they will move with the image. They're now all grouped together. I want them to be a little bit bigger than that. Let's get him. There we go. I'm happy with that. I put Nemo here because I thought it'd be quite fun as Finding Nemo. When the phone is covering him, you won't be able to see him. When you take the phone out, he'll be found. And there's a fun little play on the whole Finding Nemo concept. So I've got my Nemo there. I want to bring in two more characters over here, which is his dad, Marlin, and Dory. I think this is normally a funny image to use, so I'm going to copy that image and I'm going to paste it here. Now I'm going to do exactly like I did before with that one. I'm going to make the background transparent. I would need to do the similar thing with their eyes. For now, just for the sake of this example, I'm just going to leave it as it is, but you'll know that I'd be able to do those bits and just kind of neaten all these bits up as you go along. That's fine. That's the concept that I want to do. I want to bring these characters in there. They're scared they can't find him when the phone is in there, when it reveals. That's my general idea. So I'm starting to build my theme here, which is the Disney Pixar, but I'm missing a Disney Pixar logo. So if I go back to here, did I have it on this tab? There we go. There's my Disney Pixar logo. I'm going to copy that image there. And then I'm going to go back to here. Now, I could do a number of things here. Let's quickly, know what we're going to do. Um, let's say I want to put it there. But rather than do what I've done before, I could just make it transparent all over again, and I could have that text going along the top there. But what if I don't want my text to be in black? I could actually, I can actually do something more here. I could invert it, and I could swap it around, make my text white and my background black. So by doing that, it's like a negative on a photograph. I invert it. I've now got a black background. If I want the background to go invisible, I need to change my color here to black. So I'm saying the transparent color I want to be is black. I want to keep the white text, a nice little outline on there. Nice and simple. There I go. I wanted it to be in white, and it's a bit hard to select once you've made the background transparent. But there we go. And then I could just reposition that where I want it to be. That'll be fine for now. I'll probably do that better later on. Right, so I've got my Disney Pixar logo. I've got my characters where I want them to be. I've got this one here, and I've got my background theme. I need a phone logo somewhere. In fact, I like the idea that she's holding her hand up. I'm going to have her holding the phone logo. So I want to go back into here. I'm going to find, there it is, Apple logo. I'm going to use this one here. I'm going to copy that image and I'm going to bring it into here. Now, oh, that's massive. Okay, so I'm going to shrink that down a bit. Now, as I mentioned before, in this case, I wanted the text to be white, but it was black, so I used invert. This time, I've got my white image already, so I'm going to go into properties and do transparency enabled. I'm not going to invert it, otherwise I'm going to have that, and I don't want that. I wanted to keep it like that. So this time I'm keeping it like that, just doing a choose color and making the background transparent. I can now shrink my apple down to the size that I want it to be. I have Dory holding my apple symbol, and I'm almost done. The last thing I want to do is put an image on the background there. So I'm going to go back to my images here. Yeah, that was it. I was going to go for some sharks, wasn't I? So I'm going to get the sharks from, actually, this is Finding Nemo and Finding Dory. It's both movies, but this is a good example. The reason I'm using this image here is because I wanted to show what will happen sometimes. So sometimes you're going to have this scenario where I'm going to do the same thing as before, properties, transparency enabled, get rid of the background. I've got some text along on the bottom here. Sometimes you have little kind of symbols or bits around the image that you don't want to keep. This here, if I hold it down, I can go to click to a box, which is one of my options there. And what I'm going to, oh, I don't want to do that. What I want to do here is I want to draw a little box around the bit that I don't want. I can either click the outside to delete everything outside the box. I don't want to do that. I want to click the inside, everything inside the box. And there I go. I've cleaned up the part of the image that I didn't want. I've clipped that away. You can see a bit of a ghost image there. I'm going to shrink them down so they fit onto this space here. And if you remember before what I said about the back, we want to do something with the back. It's going to need to be upside down for it to be printed the right way up. So this currently is no good. I'm going to, some people normally try and rotate it around. That's a lot more difficult. I just like to flip it and flip it again, which will give me what I need. So there I've got my sharks in the background. I've got my Nemo there. I've got his dad and Dory there. I've got the Disney Pixar logo, and I've got the Apple symbol. And that's an example of, it's a bit of a quick example, but that's an example of how you create your design ready for printing next lesson. So we can then print them, laminate them, and then we can use the CNC cutters to obviously cut the whole image out and then fold it up. And there you go. That's a simple, quick tutorial on how you create the designs and images for your points of sale display.